What's up, guys, and welcome to our first test episode of Between Two Suns. You get it?
Get it?
We got two sons.
Yeah. Pretty proud of that name.
It was Mollie's idea. So people have been asking us for a while to do like long-form podcast-style content, and I have kept pushing it off, and Mollie has kept pushing us to do it. And I kept saying, oh, we don't have the equipment, we don't have a set, we don't have this or that, and we still don't have all those things. But considering the news of Comic-Con last week, and then Thrawn Alliances came out, we figured let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just record some stuff and test it out. So right now it's going to be for patrons only, while we find our footing and while we continue to adjust things, find the format that we want this to be, add more stuff to the background, get better equipment. Like we have two separate microphones that aren't recording into the same source, and I'll have to do some fancy work after the fact to make sure it all lines up. But
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Eventually we'll get better equipment and we'll get all of this stuff more streamlined, but we wanted to talk about all this stuff. So welcome to Between Two Suns.
Yeah.
And also we're making the bold decision to let our cats roam free, so they might just wind up in the shot here or there.
Yeah, we're actually in our downstairs room. There's still New Year's party decorations up on the walls from our yearly New Year's party.
We never come down here. Yeah, it's been, almost 7 months since New Year's.
I remembered we had this old DVD case, and I was like, we could use that and just put some of the Funko Pops and toys and stuff on there, so it looks a little bare right now, but we're going to keep adding to it. And, yeah, hopefully this all works out and that everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Now that I have my own microphone.
And please, everyone, feel free to leave us your comments, your ideas for the future, what you would like to see us do in a podcast-style format like this. Because we're just going to kind of wing it today.
Yeah.
But do you want to get into news, or was there housekeeping stuff you wanted to cover?
Before we get into, obviously we're going to talk about all the San Diego Comic-Con news that popped up, but for us, in the next couple of months, the only things that we have going on, we're going to RTX, which is the first weekend in August.
That's next week, yeah.
Yeah, next weekend. So if you're going to be at RTX, keep in touch with us on Twitter, and maybe we'll do a meetup, or if you see us, just come say hi. We'll be hanging out with our friend Andy and all the cool people that we find at RTX. I don't know. We've only been once, and we just kind of wandered around the whole time, but it's really fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much our plan again. Like, we're kind of excited to do something not Star Wars related. It's Star Wars adjacent, I would say, because Andy is one of our good Star Wars friends, but we're going to celebrate RTX, and that'll be exciting and a fun change of pace.
Yeah, and then in September, the end of August, early September, Labor Day weekend is Dragon Con, which is a big deal for us every year. And we'll vlog all these events. Particularly Dragon Con is a big one for us because we're on a couple of panels.
We do interviews.
There's tons of awesome cosplay, so I like to make a cool cosplay style video every year, like Star Wars cosplays.
It's always about this time of year that I become insufferable, and I start plugging it on our Q&As and stuff. I'll be like, remember, we're going to Dragon Con. Anyone, it's only to anyone in the Southeast, but it's the best time. So if you're in the Southeast, you should go to Dragon Con.
Yeah. And then other than that, obviously we are going to Celebration next year. That's a long ways ahead, but we have our tickets. We have our hotel. We'll be there.
Yep. All right. Well, let's just dive into news. So obviously the biggest news to come out of San Diego Comic-Con was the Clone Wars revival. We got a trailer. We got the announcement that we're doing 12 more episodes. Woo! Mollie got a Clone Wars shirt.
Yeah, this is part of the new Her Universe Clone Wars line.
Timely.
Yeah, so check that out.
I don't have a Clone Wars shirt, so I wore blue in honor of Thrawn. Okay. But we'll get to him later.
Yeah.
So Clone Wars. Exciting.
Yeah.
I was not expecting them to do that at all. I thought that they were going to celebrate 10 years of Clone Wars and then give us the Resistance trailer. Not expecting them to bring the Clone Wars back.
Yeah.
What did you think of the trailer and all that?
I remember when all that stuff got announced, I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't at home, and like my phone started blowing up, and I was like, what is happening? And then I learned about Clone Wars coming back, and I was blown away. Like, it sounds like they're giving us 12 final episodes to kind of like end the season properly, like how Dave Filoni wanted to end it.
But do you think it will be just these 12, or do you think they'll continue on? Because I've been getting that question a lot.
I think that's it. This is a gift.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
There's no gift with purchase, if that makes sense. Well, we're not purchasing this.
Well, kinda. It's going to be on the streaming service, so...
Ooh, okay, so...
I don't know, like... I don't want to say, no, they'll never do more Clone Wars, because, yeah, what if this is a runaway surprise success? We know that they had far more than 12 episodes planned. I do think the intention for this is 12 episodes, and that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
Because The Siege of Mandalore was supposed to be the series finale.
I agree. I think we'll get these 12, and that'll be it for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not expecting it to come back, but if it's clear that people are signing up for the streaming service for Clone Wars, and then people start to leave when they're done with it, like, I don't know. I'll never say never, but I think the intention right now is to be like, let's give Clone Wars a proper send-off, because it never got that, and then let's move on.
Yeah. And, like, we're gonna get Resistance this fall, I think. Yeah. So we're gonna have that. And
supposedly, then... where's the trailer?
Yeah. So we'll have that, and then, yeah, I mean, who knows? They could make a spin-off or something from those last 12 episodes of the Clone Wars. It's interesting that this is all coming with the Disney streaming service. To me, it's definitely like gonna push sales hard.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, people are definitely going to sign up for this. Not like I was expecting them not to before, but definitely now that the Clone Wars is gonna be on there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the Favreau series alone, I was like, okay, like, that'll get me to sign up. But yeah, now they're giving us this as well. But yeah, I think that what you said about it being a gift is something good to keep in mind. Like, I think some people are already like, I don't know, I'm worried that some people are going to be upset with the amount of episodes that we're getting. And in my mind, I think the episodes that we're getting are also stories that have been covered before, technically. I don't think most Star Wars fans have seen them. I don't even think most Clone Wars fans have seen them, but they are out there. Like, I did a video about it on Thursday, and I think that the 12 episodes are going to be the Bad Batch arc, the Crystal Crisis arc, and then the Siege of Mandalore, 4 episodes each. And you can watch the story reels for Crystal Crisis and Bad Batch online on StarWars.com right now. So I guess I'm worried that people are going to be like, oh, but I already know that story. And really what we should keep in mind is I think that the Siege of Mandalore is the most important thing here. I would have been happy if they just said, that's what you're getting and that's it. It's going to be 4 more episodes or like a movie and then it's done.
Yeah. That
would have pleased me. The fact that they went ahead and did 8 more episodes, and I think they chose to do that because they were close to done anyway. I think that's just an extra gift on top of the gift of the Siege of Mandalore. So, like,
sure,
they didn't have to do any of this.
Yeah. And I've even, like, I know I've seen fans online say stuff like, oh my god, I'm so excited that the Clone Wars is coming back. It better not just be blank. And people are already making demands.
Yeah.
And, like, some people don't know that they've announced that it's definitely only going to be these 12 episodes. And so there's that. And there's, some people are, like, they're only doing this to appease all of the upset fans and, like, the people that are like, we won, we did it,
that makes me laugh.
We got what we wanted. That's not the case.
Well, I love that they're like, it's clear that they're just doing this because of the divide after The Last Jedi. and Solo. Like, really? You think they just slapped this together in 7 months? You have no idea how long animation takes.
Yeah, they've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, the Rebels episodes, like, you can read interviews from the cast where they're like, yeah, we record that audio like a year and a half in advance. And so, like, when they sit down to be interviewed about the episodes, they're like, I kind of forget what happened. And so they have to, like, rewatch it because it's been so long since they just did the audio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have been working on this for a long time. Much longer than 7 months or 2 months if you think it's because of Solo. Like,
yeah,
it's just, when people say that, I'm like, well, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like,
but it also sucks because it can seem that way for some people.
I guess. I mean, yeah, the timing is sure. And a nice thing about it is that for the most part, everyone seems to be super happy about this.
Yeah, it is kind of bringing people together in a way. There's always going to be those people who are never going to be happy. You know, this fact that we're getting an extra 12 episodes of Clone Wars, they're going to be like, great, I want more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, never going to be satisfied. But I think most people are really excited, and it's bringing people back together a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny also that I think people look back at the Clone Wars with kind of rose-tinted glasses, and the way that, I mean, when it's good, it's amazing. But it also gave us D-Squad and, like, a bunch of Jar Jar episodes that I wasn't into. It's like, it has great and bad episodes.
Yeah.
So it's not like everything about the Clone Wars was amazing all the time.
Yeah.
But I do think that, assuming we're going Bad Batch, Crystal Crisis, I already know and like those arcs, and they have some nice connections with things, and I'm very excited to see the Bad Batch the way they were supposed to be. And the Siege of Mandalore, just knowing what Dave Filoni has said about that story, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the fans right now have grown up watching the Clone Wars. Like, we're a little bit older than, I guess, that generation that were, I don't know.
Yeah, we definitely didn't grow up with it.
Yeah, middle school, high school.
It started after we graduated college or high school.
Yeah, so people that watched it during middle school, high school, that would be, well, middle school, that would be kind of like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z for us, which we're very passionate about.
Even though nowadays I can't give two craps about Dragon Ball Super. I've fallen out of that.
When I say passionate, I mean we would care.
Yeah. I was like, oh, cool, they're rebooting that, but yeah. I agree. Also, I think it's kind of funny that everyone is celebrating. I don't know, whenever something happens in the fandom that people are all on board with, it's like, yes, praise be to Filoni, which, yeah, of course, he deserves a lot of credit for what the Clone Wars is, but no one says, like, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, as if she had nothing to do with this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, of course she did. And if something bad happens, like, let's say these episodes suck, they're not going to suck, but if they did, they'd probably all blame Kathleen Kennedy and not say a word about Dave Filoni, and it's like, just one of those things.
I saw a comment that said something about, like, Dave Filoni is fixing what Kathleen Kennedy and Disney took away from us.
Right.
Which is not the case.
Yeah.
Like, the show got canceled because I forget why.
It was like the Cartoon Network deal and a bunch of stuff with that. And yeah, it's like, Dave Filoni is single-handedly bringing this back. Like, I love Dave Filoni. I think he totally gets Star Wars and storytelling. I love a lot of when the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels is good, it's amazing. But he is not, like, the driving force behind everything at Lucasfilm. Yeah,
I mean, people saying that they're demanding that Dave Filoni take over the movies. That's ridiculous. We don't even know if Dave Filoni wants to work on, like, live action movies. Yeah, I think he loves animation.
His background has always been in animation.
Yeah, so, I mean,
if he wanted to do a live action, I'd be all for it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, being a good storyteller and being a good producer are two different things.
Yeah.
And I think I would much rather him be telling stories than being in charge of the production. if you were in charge of, I don't know, just the storytelling in general, kind of guiding everything, I think that would be cool. But I think some people think that's what Kathleen Kennedy's job is, and it's not. So that kind of seems like a position that could be created and filled by Filoni. Mm-hmm. I think that could be cool, but to have him to be the head of Lucasfilm all of a sudden, I just think that if you really want that, then you don't really know what his job is and what Kathleen Kennedy's job is.
Right.
But I think that's probably it for Clone Wars.
I think so.
Okay.
We don't really have a trailer reaction other than yay.
Yeah. The trailer was kind of bare bones. I mean, It was just like, it was plenty to get us hyped.
Seeing Ahsoka at the end was, of course, amazing.
Confirming that we're getting Siege of Mandalore, and then like having the shot from the Bad Batch story reel, that was really cool. So I think that confirms those two arcs. Crystal Crisis is speculation on my part, but I think it makes sense, especially if they're doing Bad Batch.
Yeah, and then we don't have a time frame for this, do we? I guess
I would say
the streaming service is coming next year.
As far as we know, yeah.
Don't know when, but I would assume. I
would guess early next year.
Do you think before or after Celebration? I'd say after. Because
I'm hoping for before, but it would make sense if they just like showed the Siege of Mandalore at Celebration.
Yeah, they're gonna use some stuff at Celebration to really, really hype it up, and then probably launch it right after.
I bet you're right. It'll probably be like April at Celebration. They'll say, like, the people in the room, you get to watch the Siege of Mandalore now. People at home, you get to watch it too. Like, it's out.
Yeah.
That would be good timing, I think.
Do you want it to be all 12 episodes released at once, or do you want them to stagger it?
For our sake, I hope it's staggered. I kind of think they'll just do it all at once.
Yeah. But either way, it's going to be fun. I hope they don't release them all at once at Celebration, because then we would have a lot of work to do. Oh, you're right. They won't do that. Will they?
They might.
They won't.
They might.
You won't. Right? We all got stuff to do at Celebration. And we're going to want to do both.
Yep. I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense, what you said, but hopefully they don't. Just so we have time to cover it.
More Comic-Con news. There were a bunch of books announced at the publishing panel. We've got Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. That one is going to be taking place before The Phantom Menace, and it's going to be Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And as far as we know, it's just going to be some dangerous mission for the Jedi.
I have had a couple people ask me, and I think this would be cool if they did it, will it be about their year with Duchess Satine? I think that would be a good story to tell. It's something we know happened.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to have Duchess Satine back.
Because that would give a lot of conflict to Obi-Wan. He said that he considered leaving the Jedi Order for her. So I think that could be a really cool kind of look at his character. And it also kind of mirrors stuff that happened between him and Anakin, because in the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic, Anakin considers leaving the Order, and Obi-Wan kind of says, if that's what you want to do, that's okay, and obviously he decides against it, but we could see something similar with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Maybe Qui-Gon's a little harder on him, like, nah, Jedi's the way to go, brah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say what this is going to be about. Either way, I'm excited because it's Claudia Gray.
Oh yeah. So she's done Bloodline, Lost Stars, what else?
Leia, Princess of Alderaan.
Leia. So all the books that I really, really love so far.
She also did the Qui-Gon story and From a Certain Point of View.
Yeah.
Which now I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense that she would get to do that and this. It's funny, I think, I wasn't here for this, but I think she teased that she was doing this at Dragon Con last year.
Somehow it got teased and nobody really noticed it. It kind of went under the radar.
I expect that she just said like, oh, I'd love to write an Obi-Wan Qui-Gon story at some point, and then she probably full on knew she was doing that. And kind of like last year, I got to interview Timothy Zahn, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've got ideas for other Thrawn books. Nothing in the works yet, but it's like, okay, you didn't sign that deal and write that book in 2 months, Timothy."
Yeah. So that book is coming out February 26th of next year.
Next up is Queen's Shadow by E.K. Johnston. Another veteran Star Wars writer.
Another great author. I loved the Ahsoka book.
Yeah.
All the young adult novels I would highly recommend.
She is going to be writing about Padme transitioning from a queen into a senator. It's going to include Sabe, who would be Keira Knightley's character, I think, from The Phantom Menace, her decoy, and her other handmaidens. This is pretty intriguing to me because I was reading Thrawn Alliances right before this announcement came out. I was reading my advanced copy of it. Excuse me.
Spoilers?
No spoilers here.
Okay.
So I was reading that, and Padme's in the book, and it talks about one of her handmaidens, and like they're described as basically secret agents. And I was like, this could be a really cool book because people have been saying, let's get a Padme book for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And Thrawn Alliances kind of sold me even more on that idea because I was like, oh, they can really do like espionage, and these handmaidens are a lot more than meets the eye, to quote Transformers.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of this episode, we're going to talk in depth about Thrawn Alliances, and so we can talk a little bit more about Padme's part in that book, but I agree. Reading her in Thrawn Alliances made me very excited for this book, and it's going to be really cool to see her transition from queen to senator and kind of just find a new personality and a new place, you know, mentally.
And it'll be without Anakin.
Yeah, no Anakin, and we'll probably get some politics in there, definitely, which will be interesting.
I bet she will play a part.
Yep, get some good old Palpatine in there.
It could be really interesting to see what he's up to in that 10 years between. And maybe Padme could even start, I don't know, finding some suspicious stuff, not really becoming suspicious of him yet, but seeing some questionable things.
Yeah.
Or maybe she will want to be a senator because Palpatine wasn't a great senator, in her opinion, and she wants to do things differently.
I wonder, like, if she knew that she was going to want to be a senator after being the queen, or if that was just, like, the thing, the most...
I could see that being kind of, I guess, her story. The plot for her to follow would be, in Attack of the Clones, we know that Queen Jamilia asked her to be a senator, and she was like, I couldn't say no. So maybe it'll be like she asks at the beginning of the story, and she's like, do I really want to keep doing stuff like this? Maybe I just want to relax and chill on the beaches of Naboo, but she decides for the better of the galaxy that she needs to do this. So
I guess after being a queen and, you know, protecting her people, she's probably going to feel the necessity to take up that role as senator.
But on the other hand, she just wants to chill because she's not that old.
Yeah, true. So that one is coming out March 5th.
It's going to be a busy couple weeks.
Yeah, so shortly after Master and Apprentice, we're going to have Queen's Shadow.
Okay, and I guess we'll talk quickly about some of these. Well, let's stick with books for a second before we get into the comics they announced. The solo novelization is coming September 4th. It is said to include a lot of extra scenes and a lot of extra information. Yeah,
so we're going to get some deeper insights on Han's years in the Navy, a little bit more about Kira's past, and the beginnings of the rebellion. And I made a note. Do you think we're going to get any original Lord and Miller content in the novelization?
I would be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go that far off script, but I'll be curious as to what that extra versions of the script means.
From what I can tell, and what did it say? Alternate versions of the script. I mean, I think part of the problem with Lord and Miller was that they were going so far off script and they were doing improvisational things. So I don't think they're going to want to go off the script for the book as well. Maybe there will be some stuff inspired by it. I mean, like that snowball fight that's going to be in a deleted scene. That might have been a Lord and Miller idea. They could include that in the book. I mean, that wouldn't change anything. So I guess there's potential for it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that the the movie novelization books are required reading, but there's always little tidbits in them that kind of are interesting and kind of make you wonder. Also, you get a lot of inner dialogue and insight into what people were thinking. So if you don't want to read it, check out our video that will be coming out about it.
Yeah, they have been a little hit or miss. I think The Last Jedi and Rogue One were very worth reading.
I liked the Rogue One novelization very much because you got a lot of inner monologue of Jyn and also Cassian
and
Bodhi. So basically all the characters, you learned a lot more about their motivations and their
which I felt
characters.
that was kind of Rogue One's downfall. Is like I was like, I want to like these characters, but I just felt like I didn't get a chance to connect with them. The book helped me do that a lot. Like it turned Bodhi into one of my favorite characters in that movie, whereas I didn't feel that way after just watching the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't really have that issue with Solo so much. I did feel like there were a lot of characters, especially when half of them get killed off like a quarter of the way through the movie. But I don't know. I'll be interested to see what this book reveals.
Yeah, so that one's coming out September 4th, so shortly in the future.
And then the last book they talked about was Star Wars Women of the Galaxy by Amy Ratcliffe. It's going to have a foreword by Kathleen Kennedy and have 75 character profiles, all about female characters.
Yeah, and then the artists are all female and non-binary, and I'm really excited for this book. I've seen a couple of the pictures. It's all original art, and I've seen a little bit of it. I know they had it at Comic-Con, but it officially goes on sale October 30th.
Yeah.
So, and we follow Amy Ratcliffe on Twitter, and she's very excited about the book. She was really, really excited to announce the foreword being by Kathleen Kennedy, so that one's going to be really cool.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what the character profiles are. First, I'm excited that they got like a lot of different artists. That it's just going to be like a collection of art, I guess, in one sense, but then with the character profiles, I'm just wondering how that's going to be laid out. If it's going to be like the character encyclopedias that we have, or if it's going to be like big, long biographies. I want to learn more about this book. I think it'll be cool. And it will shed some light on some lesser-known characters.
Yeah. We'll see all the good guys and bad guys and everything in between.
Let's hop over to comics, and first they announced Tales from Vader's Castle.
Oh, this sounds exciting. This is going to come out in October, just in time for Halloween, and you know, they seem more on the side of young adult, but
I think it's even younger than that.
Yeah, I'm still excited.
I think it's going to be like Star Wars Adventures level of a comic. But yeah, it's going to be spooky stories in the Star Wars universe. I doubt they're going to be all that spooky, but maybe they're dipping their toe in the horror realm to see what kind of reaction it gets.
Yeah.
Even if it's not going to be all that scary.
If you think about spooky places, you know, Darth Vader's castle is going to be one of them. And we might actually learn some cool stuff about Vader's castle. Maybe he has an arcade.
It's like one of those pod racing machines.
Maybe he has like a jacuzzi version of the Bacta tank.
I was going to say he does have a jacuzzi.
Where he just hangs out. And that guy,
he had one of those in Legends.
Really?
Yeah. It was in Shadows of the Empire. He is just chilling in a bath with his mask on. Or no, I think he didn't have the mask on because it was like hermetically sealed and stuff. But
yeah. So we're definitely going to get that.
We're going to get the jacuzzi. Jacuzzi's confirmed.
But
I don't know that all the stories are going to take place at his castle.
Yeah.
Or if it's just like
it might just involve Vader somehow.
Yeah, or maybe he'll be opening up like holocrons or something that have spooky stories. But I mean, we know Kanan and Hera are involved in one of the stories, and I just don't know if they're using Tales from Vader's Castle just as like a thematic title, or if it's going to like literally it's all going to be about people visiting Vader's castle, because I don't know how realistic it is that like 6 different groups of people have snuck into Vader's castle at some point. But I don't know. It could be that a lot of them or some of them take place after Vader's death, and people go to check out the castle like in between episodes 6 and 7, and that'd be a spooky place. Yeah. Less dangerous when Vader's not home and no one's there, but like I'd still be creeped out to go there.
Be full of lava fleas.
Yeah.
Maybe some squatters.
And then the last comic is Age of the Republic, Age of the Rebellion, and Age of Resistance, which is going to be 30 different stories.
I'm guessing 10 of each?
I would assume so. 30 different stories about iconic heroes and villains, starting this December. That's pretty much all we know.
Yeah, it's going to start out, issue 1, Age of Republic is going to be Qui-Gon, and then another Age of Republic is going to be Darth Maul. So
they're called Qui-Gon #1 and Darth Maul #1, so maybe we'll get multiple stories about each character somehow. Yeah. Just the title Qui-Gon #1 and Darth Maul #1 is interesting.
Yeah, we don't have any other information other than those titles, but that'll be interesting to have little stories that might fill in some gaps between those 3 eras.
Yeah, and this is going to be by IDW, which they're the same people that do Star Wars Adventures, so I would guess that again these are probably going to be on the younger Star Wars Adventure-ish kind of side, but the artist by Luke Ross, he's one of my favorite Star Wars comic artists right now. He did the Darth Maul comic and the Thrawn comic. I really love his stuff, so I'm glad to see him coming back.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the Thrawn discussion, the only other piece of news we got, I think, that would be newsworthy from Comic-Con was that Hasbro announced a couple of new toys. We don't really follow the new toy announcements that closely, but I know they're doing Jabba's Barge, which is going to be their biggest project yet. I think that the
biggest Star Wars vehicle they've ever put out, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's really exciting. We got, let's see, a new Ezra and a new Chopper figure, and a new vintage series. I think there was a new Revan. Anyways, you can find all that stuff on the Star Wars website if you're into those.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not really into that side of things. I just don't keep up with the toys or any of that. We have some. Obviously, we collect the Funko Pop. Yeah. That's more her fault than anything, but I do like them. I do get excited for new announcements, but the Black Series, it's like I don't collect them. I just get like some of the ones for the characters that mean a lot to me. Like we've got the Thrawn one, we've got Luke back there, but I don't really keep up with the toys all that much.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we spend too much money on the Funko Pops, so we can't afford anything else. Food, clothing.
We eat the Funko.
Okay.
All right, so that's it for Comic-Con news. So let's move on to Thrawn. We're going to go spoiler-free for a little bit, and then we'll give you plenty of warning, and we're going to do a full-on discussion of the book for those of you that have already read it. So
I just finished
Molly just finished it before we started recording this.
Yeah, I went out for a run this morning, and I was listening to the audiobook, and I got home, and I just had a little bit more to go, and I finished it. That's like the fastest I've read a book in quite a while. I started it 2 days ago, but when I started it, I only read a little bit. I read almost all day yesterday.
Yeah, you started it on Tuesday when it came out because you wanted the audiobook.
Yeah. So how I like to read the Star Wars books is I like to have the physical copy because we get them ahead of time for him to read and review, and listen to the audiobook at the same time because, I don't know, doing one or the other, I get distracted easily, but it's great because the audiobooks have like sound effects, and Mark Thompson does a fantastic job at narrating, especially Thrawn's voice.
He sounds a lot like Lars Mikkelsen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we wind up with like 3 copies of the book. We get them sent to us, and you get the audiobook anyway. I usually get the Kindle version anyway because it helps me. Like if I'm trying to look up something, I can just do a Control F and search through the book instead of having to flip through. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you get a physical copy anyway because you will dog ear my pages and I can't have that. So sometimes we wind up with 4 copies of the same book. But
haters gonna hate.
You're a monster. So what did you think of the book?
I liked it.
And you did not read the first Thrawn. You read the comic.
Right. So, and I wish that I had started reading the first Thrawn and finished that before I had done the second one. But you told me that reading the comics were a pretty good substitute, and I think I got as much as I needed to know out of the comics. It's only a 6-series comic issue for Thrawn that covers the story arc of the first book.
Yeah, I think that's a fine summary. So if you wanted to read Thrawn 1 before Thrawn Alliances, the comic will do you just fine, and it'll be much faster.
Yeah. So I read that, And...
But that said, the Thrawn book is one of my favorite Star Wars books, canon or Legends. I loved it.
Yeah. You get some good Governor Pryce backstory in it, and just stuff about how Thrawn became the Grand Admiral.
I just love Thrawn as the character. I love seeing him do his Sherlock Holmes thing. I like seeing him blow the minds of his other Imperial buddies who are just there to basically be impressed. Mm-hmm. I like all that stuff, and I think Timothy Zahn does a really good job of setting up these kind of mysteries that when Thrawn explains how he came to the solution, you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and I feel like I'm also impressed. Mm-hmm. Thrawn Alliances, I think it got into Thrawn's head a little bit more, and it let you kind of feel smart alongside him. Mm-hmm. It kind of tells you what he's thinking and when, and you're like, oh, I can make these deductions with him.
Yeah. And I find it interesting that he's never really wrong about anything. He just hasn't finished putting together his opinion or his thoughts. Like, he'll never admit to being wrong or making a mistake. He'll just say something like, oh, my calculations just weren't quite finished yet, or something,
He's always got something.
Yeah.
Which is, I said this in my review, but I loved seeing his interactions with Anakin and seeing how openly annoyed Anakin was with Thrawn. And then you jump forward and you see him interacting with Vader, and he's not openly annoyed with him. He doesn't say as much, but you just know he's under that armor, like, seething. Yeah. This pompous, like, alien that, I wonder if Vader is... I guess I never got the sense that Vader is, like, speciesist in the same way that most of the Empire is, but I'm still just, like, this pompous guy.
Yeah. Just
can't let anything... Like, he always has to be right.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's never wrong.
And you can tell Vader is angry, not only at that, but, like, the fact that Palpatine is treating Thrawn almost like he's treating Vader.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, he's kind of a third hand. If Vader is his second hand, like, Thrawn is kind of a close second, third hand.
I would even say they might be equal. I mean, I think it was Palpatine or Vader early on in the book that says Palpatine views them as his 2 most important tools.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, I probably would have put Tarkin ahead of Thrawn, or even Vader maybe, but probably not Vader, just because of the whole Sith thing. But
yeah, Vader's a Sith Lord. He's got the Force. He's the muscle. Thrawn is the brains.
Yeah.
So, and he knows about the Outer Rim. So, and Palpatine's very interested in that.
Yeah. So overall, you like the book. I don't know if there's much else we can say without spoiling.
Yeah, I mean, I loved how they worked between Anakin and Padme and Thrawn, and then Thrawn and Vader, like, they kind of flipped back and forth. I say they. Timothy Zahn flipped back and forth between those two timelines, and I was really happy with Padme's storyline.
Which storyline did you prefer? The Thrawn Anakin or Thrawn Vader?
I think Thrawn Anakin, just because of Padme, I think, being part of it, and also Thrawn is still very new at that point, and we don't really know, like, what he's really there for, you know?
Yeah. I think I liked Thrawn Vader more. Because I guess I felt like there was more at stake when they talked. Like, obviously I know Thrawn's in Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, but Vader seemed like he could snap at any moment.
That's true, yeah.
And I also really liked the mystery, the setup of Palpatine felt a disturbance in the Force. We gotta go check it out. And I guess it seemed like their strengths and weaknesses complemented each other better, because Thrawn can't use the Force. He has no understanding of it. Vader isn't as smart as Thrawn. So the same is kind of true in the Thrawn Anakin story, but I felt it more in Thrawn Vader.
I guess as I was reading, I felt myself getting more excited when the then stories came up. I don't know, they just were a little bit more intriguing to me.
I will say that I think part of me wasn't crazy about the split storyline thing, but it has nothing to do with the book or Timothy Zahn's writing. It more has to do with the fact that the last novel that came out was Last Shot, and it did the same thing, except it was even split into 3 stories. And so a lot of the way that these stories were told were very similar, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, we're doing this again. And one of my complaints about Last Shot was that even though that was like a connected story told over 15 years or so, I was like, it just felt like we didn't get to focus on one story. It felt like it was 3 smaller stories pieced together, and I kind of got that in Thrawn Alliances as well, where I was like, there is no clear antagonist. There's basically 2 antagonists, and there's 2 stories, and I would have preferred, I guess, like, I think I like the first Thrawn more because we just get to focus on this one thing, and we have one antagonist in Night Swan, and I don't know, I liked that focused storytelling.
That's fair.
But I guess let's get into spoilers now. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want spoilers, turn it off now.
Yeah.
If you don't care, you can keep watching. Okay, so moving on to the spoilers for Thrawn Alliances. I guess let's break down just really quickly the Thrawn Anakin story and the Thrawn Vader story. So back in the Clone Wars, Padme goes missing. She basically goes on a mission to find one of her handmaidens who says, like, I found something big. She shows up. Her handmaiden is dead. She picks up her trail, goes to the planet Mokij, or Mokivj, or however you say that. And
Mokivj.
Yeah, Mokivj.
Yeah.
She makes it there and finds a factory. And then we'll jump back. Anakin hasn't heard from her in a while because communications are disrupted in that region. What does that mean? Ask C.O. Bibble. So he shows up, runs into Thrawn, who is claiming to be there just to investigate the Clone Wars and see if this conflict is any danger to the Chiss people. He convinces Anakin to team up, and they go looking for Padme. Also make their way to Mokij. They find out that the factory is producing battle droids and clone trooper armor that is made with cortosis.
Yeah, and the people running it are from the same planet as Count Dooku.
Yes. So they're kind of confused as to why they're making both battle droids and clone trooper armor, but cortosis is from Legends. It's already been made canon in the Book of New Dawn, but this stuff shorts out lightsabers and also just absorbs energy blasts. They're basically very resilient battle droids.
I wrote down in my notes specifically this was about Thrawn's armor, but I guess this counts for Cortos's too. It's basically Wakanda technology, so crossover confirmed.
It takes energy and it like dissipates it.
Yeah.
And makes it less lethal. So yeah, I forgot about Thrawn's armor gets like shot.
Yeah, he basically gets shot in the chest a couple of times at one part, and he's fine. He just feels, I guess, kind of bruised because his chest armor absorbs the blasts.
Yeah, I guess it's like a bulletproof vest, which it's like, shouldn't stormtrooper armor be kind of like that? But it's not.
Well, at that point, that's like Chiss special technology, Wakanda technology.
No, I think you're probably onto something in a way. Like, I think the Chiss people are highly advanced, and they probably have some really cool stuff that the normal galaxy doesn't have,
and they don't feel like sharing it. Until they have to.
Yeah, they are very. You're really onto something. They're very closed off and concerned about their own space, and that's like all they care about. As long as they're safe, they don't want to share. So I think that's a great comparison. So on
I'll have my research paper out
Yeah.
this coming holiday season.
So speaking of their technology, Thrawn's actual mission is to recover this special shield generator, which isn't really that special. Like, so on the opposite side, they don't have some of the technology that the known galaxy has. So he's picking up this shield generator so they can study it and reverse engineer it. But he also decides to help Anakin, and they basically destroy the factory. But they're very confused as to why they're making clone trooper armor that's resistant to lightsabers. We know why, obviously. It's for Order 66. But they never quite piece that together. I think Thrawn kind of does, and he's like, you might want to keep an eye out.
A couple of times he is speaking to Anakin, and he's like, why do you think they're making these things for both the Separatist and the Republic? And Anakin's like, I don't have time to think about that right now. And Thrawn's like, you should think about that, maybe.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't really make the entire leap there, but he's like, well, these other options don't really make sense. So there's something else going on. So maybe think about it while I'm gone by. So then we jump forward to in between seasons 3 and 4 of Star Wars Rebels. Thrawn and Vader are both part of the Empire now. The Emperor senses a disturbance in the Force out on Batuu again, and they have to go and check that out. And
reluctantly together.
Yeah. So,
because at this time Thrawn is told that Anakin Skywalker is dead,
and he keeps saying, "So I've been told."
So I've been told, and we get these neat little kind of like inner monologues from Vader where he has distant memories of himself as Anakin, but he refers to himself as the Jedi.
Yeah. He's trying to keep that very separate from himself.
Yeah.
Oh, the Jedi's memories are like, yeah.
Yeah. And so the whole time you kind of think, okay, I think Thrawn knows.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I think Thrawn knows that Vader is Anakin, but he's kind of playing along.
Yeah.
Because Vader keeps saying Anakin Skywalker is dead.
Yeah, Thrawn keeps bringing up Anakin. He's like, yeah, me and Anakin Skywalker went to Batuu once. He doesn't talk like that. He's like, Anakin Skywalker and myself. But he keeps bringing up Anakin.
He does when you listen to the audiobook at 2 times speed.
Oh, yeah? Sounds like a chipmunk. So he keeps bringing up Anakin, and Vader's like, Anakin's dead. Anakin's dead. Remember, he's dead. And Thrawn's like, okay, people keep telling me that. And then he becomes more and more blatant with it. And I think he even says, like, remember last time we were here?
He slips up, and Vader's like, I'm not going to say it again.
He's like, I was never here. I'm not going to say it again. But then at the end, they kind of have a moment of understanding, and he's like, Anakin Skywalker is dead. And Thrawn goes, I know. Like, he accepts that Vader is not the same person and it's not the same Jedi that he knew. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. After the future timeline is starting to kind of wrap up, Thrawn says that and is basically accepting that Vader's a different person, and now he kind of knows more about him and how he acts in certain situations, and yeah, that was all really interesting.
Speaking of their interactions in general, I was thinking about one of my favorite lines is when Thrawn suggests that they go down to Batu and like inconspicuously just ask around, and Vader's like, do you really think there's anywhere I can go that would be inconspicuous? Like, everyone knows what I look like and who I am.
Which is true, but it also comes off as like super something like a D-list celebrity would say.
Everyone, do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
But yeah, the disturbance on the Force winds up being Force-sensitive Chiss children, specifically girls, and we learn that they, as children, Force sensitivity is very rare in the Chiss, but a lot of time, well, not a lot of times, but girls most frequently will be Force sensitive, and that they can use the Force to navigate through the unknown regions, and that's how they do it.
They have kind of like precog.
Right. They can see what's coming, so like as they're just going through hyperspace without coordinates, they're like, a sun is coming up, well, let's go under that, and then Vader does that at one point, which is a pretty cool scene.
Yeah. He doesn't know, like, he's never used the Force in that way, but Thrawn's like, you can do it. I mean, these Chiss kids can do it. And he basically is like, it's almost like challenging Vader, like, I mean, of course, a man of your talents.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's like, if you think these kids can do it better, then sure. But what do they call that?
Oh, the third sense.
And then what are the kids called?
Oh, and then so Thrawn reveals that the children who have that third sense are called Skywalkers.
Of course, they say it in like whatever their Chiss language is, but he's like roughly translated. It means Skywalker,
which makes you think, oh, that might be why when we first see Thrawn and Anakin talking, you know, in their ships, he learns his name is Skywalker, and he's like, interesting.
That's also kind of when he starts to get really blatant with it. He's like, they're called Skywalkers. Did you hear that? Like,
to Vader. Yeah. I love their relationship and how sassy they are with each other. Yeah.
It's weird. Like, it's sassy, but it still feels in character.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I never got... maybe Vader's one line about, do you really think I can go anywhere secretly? Like, sometimes I think that Vader... Not sometimes. I usually think that Vader works best the less he talks. But also, I thought he was handled well in this.
Yeah, and, like, that's a completely valid point for him. Not only can he not travel inconspicuously, the idea of him is still kind of mythical to a lot of people, so he can't just go barging around, like, showing himself and showing what he can do. You know, he wants to keep that kind of a secret.
Yeah, so it's almost the devil you know is less scary than the one you don't. And if you don't know what he can do, the stories are probably scarier than reality.
Exactly. So
even though reality's still pretty terrifying.
Yeah, so he wants to keep that air of curiosity that people have about him, or the idea of this dark armored monster man.
I think so. Let me just check on our time here. Okay, we're good. So we learn that there's this new, I guess, unknown region species called the Grisk, and they're basically setting up for invasion, and they have been since the Clone Wars. Like, the communications disruption was because of them, and they've been kind of probing the known galaxy just to see when is a good time to strike. It's pretty similar to the Yuuzhan Vong. I don't think they are the Yuuzhan Vong, but it sounds like they may have taken some of the plot lines for Clone Wars, where they were going to bring in the Yuuzhan Vong, but they were going to be very different. I think they might have adapted that a little bit for this and just said, okay, the Vong aren't a thing anymore, but the Grisk are, and there's still this warrior race that sounds very interested in invading and taking all of the Imperial planets.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like they've already kind of taken over the Darshi species, which is, it's a species that Thrawn and Vader run into.
Yeah.
And they kind of like grapple with them for a while, but it sounds like the Grisk have kind of overtaken them already.
It's like they are taking stuff that's important. They're holding things ransom and forcing them to become warriors for them.
Right.
So they were taking ceremonial blades that were very important to the Darshi, and then the Chiss children are obviously very important to the Chiss, and we find out that some Chiss are in league with the Grisk. So this is going to be interesting. If they keep pulling on this thread, which I hope they do, I think they are building towards another invasion storyline, but this time it'll be a species kind of like the Vong, more in theme than actual, like, what they look like and what they do, because I don't think their society is going to be set up the same. I don't think they're going to be force resistant or anything like that. But alongside the Grisk, they have help from the Chiss, who apparently the Chiss are in the middle of a civil war, and that's all interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Vader keeps questioning Thrawn's alliances, hint the title.
Yeah.
And
I hadn't even thought of that. Just Thrawn Alliances, cool title, all right.
Well, he refers to it as where his loyalties lie, but it's also like where his alliances are. And, you know, throughout the entire book, he's kind of wishy-washy about it, but ultimately he's like, I serve the Empire, you know.
Yeah, he keeps saying, like, I can do both. I can help the Chiss and I can help the Empire, and yeah, he's kind of, it's the same. He's not wrong. He's never wrong, but he's also not totally right. I do think he was totally out there to help the Chiss first and foremost, and he's like, but also, like, I do think the Grisk are going to invade, and they might have help from the Chiss, and that's not good. So, but he's like, I'm here, I'm back to help the Empire. I'm not now going to the Chiss. I've told them to keep an eye out, and now I'm Imperial again. So
yeah,
I do think that Vader was right the whole time, where he's like, you're caring more about the Chiss than the Empire, but by the end he's like, it's fine. Yeah. Maybe he's just tired of arguing.
Well, so they find out that the Grisk have cortosis, and Vader's kind of like, what?
Yeah, they have cortosis. They have whatever technology the Chiss have. Like, they're gonna be a major threat if they come back, and I'm wondering if it's gonna be decades down the line. Would it be after the sequel trilogy, or would it be something that happens in between? Like, will they attack the New Republic after the Battle of Endor? How's all this going to play out? I don't know.
It would have to be, I'm wondering maybe if Thrawn and Ezra ever come back from wherever they are, maybe they come back with something like cortosis, or they've found something equal to, or, you know, something worthy of going against the Grisk, if they were to invade or something like that.
But yeah, that was like the most intriguing thing to me, is, okay, this opens a lot of doors, a lot of potential for future storylines. How are we going to explore them? How are we going to tie it up? I think we will. I mean, again, Timothy Zahn last year was like, I have ideas, nothing signed yet, liar. he knew Thrawn Alliance is coming. I think that there's more Thrawn stories coming.
This has got to be a trilogy.
At least. Yeah. I think he said he's got something like 3 more stories beyond this one in his mind. Whether or not he gets to do them all, like, they're all just pitches.
They may not all be books.
True. They could, who knows, Thrawn could come into live action. I'd be shocked, but thrilled also. So.
The more I read about him, the more I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get him on screen.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Thrawn Alliances?
I liked Rook being in it. He popped in and out.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't know how he came to be.
I was hoping we'd get a little backstory there.
Yeah. We still don't know how he came to be as Thrawn's little assistant killer guy, but he is creepy and he sneaks up on people and none of the Imperials like him.
There were a couple minor things like that where I was hoping to get backstory on Rook. I was hoping Captain Pellaeon would show up because he's mentioned in season 4 of Rebels, so I was like, oh, well, now that Eli Vanto's gone, like, he'll totally be in this, and he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh well.
Yep.
Alright, I think that about wraps things up for Thrawn, so that's also gonna almost wrap things up for the first episode of Between Two Suns.
Yeah. How do you think we did?
I think it was good.
Yeah.
Again, like, we just kind of winged this. Is that a verb? We winged it? Yeah.
We wung it.
We wung it? That doesn't sound right. So we just struggled through this.
Yeah.
We didn't really have any set format, but if there are any segments that you'd like to see us do in the future, or if you just like this discussion, I don't know, just give us your feedback in the comments, because we want to know what you guys want to see from a long form thing like this. We want to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully, right now it's going to be on Patreon only, but hopefully as it grows in success, we can maybe make it public to the channel.
I mean, that's the goal, is for it to be more professional looking, for us to get our equipment together, and for us to be able to streamline this and do it more often. But while it's very rough right now, we wanted to at least start discussing things, test it out, so our patrons can see it, give us feedback, tell us what direction they want it to go in, and I figure you guys will be more forgiving with our equipment, and you'll get to watch it grow as well as we get new microphones and maybe new lights, or I don't know, whatever we decide we need to make this better.
Yeah.
You'll get to see us go through all that, and we can thank you as it happens, because it will be because of you that we can do this show.
Yeah. And we live in Atlanta, and so we may have interviews with some of our friends who are also big into Star Wars, or if anyone out there wants to be on the show. I don't know how often they come through Atlanta. Yeah. Just let us know.
Anyone that swings through can stop by and we'll do a recording with them. But
sure, why not? I also want to say that I am going to try to do a complete watch through of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to do that together. I think that would be a fun series for us to do.
Because I've seen most of it, but it's been a very long time, and I really need to refresh everything. And I really want to, so...
And the timing is right.
Yeah, that might be another reoccurring little segment as part of this show, as, like, we talk about what episodes we've watched, what we thought about them, so you're gonna get lots of Clone Wars refreshers throughout the show.
Yeah, I mean, that might just be its own series, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's lots of things we could do.
Yeah, endless possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. So just thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being patrons.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully this is just some extra added value. I don't know how often we're going to do this. I mean, the goal is to eventually make it weekly. Mm-hmm. But already we're going to be out of town next weekend for RTX. So we might just do it when there's major news, or... I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. Like we said, we got to figure out what the format is. There was just so much to talk about from this past week between Thrawn and Comic-Con that it was like, yeah, we could easily fill an hour.
Sure.
So, yeah. That's it. Anything else you want to say?
I'll just go ahead and plug all of our social media where you can find us. We're on Twitter at Star Wars Explain with no ED. We are on Instagram at Star Wars Explained with an ED. And we're on Facebook at Star Wars Explained. We also have a Facebook group called Star Wars Explained. If you want to join in on that conversation, there's a lot of great people on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Plug your Twitter.
Oh yeah, I'm on Twitter, and I say random stuff sometimes. My Twitter is at Mollie Damon, and we also have the vlog channel, which... The vlogs are kind of sporadic and dependent on how much traveling we're doing, but the vlog channel is called Malik's Vlogs.
Yeah.
So all
we'll do
stuff,
one for RTX probably.
Yeah, all that stuff will be linked down in the description bar.
All right. And we'll definitely do one for Dragon Con.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, you plugged all my stuff too, so I don't have anything to say except thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
May the Force be with you.